The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated silently in the darkness between stars. It was bigger than most cities on Earth, with gleaming metal walls and countless windows that sparkled like diamonds. This was humanity's first real chance to prove they belonged among the stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the docking bay window, watching the alien ship approach. It was beautiful, in a cold way, made of what looked like living crystal that caught and bent the light. The Veltar ship moved without sound through the vacuum, graceful as a dancer. Sarah adjusted her uniform one more time. Everything had to be perfect. Earth needed this deal more than the aliens knew. A terrible sickness was killing people on the outer colonies, and only Veltar medicine could save them. 200,000 lives hung in the balance. "They're here," said Lieutenant James Park, standing beside her. His voice was tight with worry. The airlock hissed open, and Ambassador Zethkri stepped through. He was tall, maybe 8 feet, and his skin looked like blue-white crystal. Light seemed to move inside him, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. Behind him came 6 more, Veltar, all moving with the same cold grace. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," Sarah said, stepping forward with a smile. "I'm Captain Chen. We're honored to have you here." Zethkri looked down at her. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "You are the human representative?" "Yes, sir. I'll be leading the negotiations for Earth." "How? Quaint." Zethkri's laugh was like breaking glass. "The pet mammals think they can negotiate." Sarah kept her smile, though it felt like swallowing poison. "Shall we proceed to the conference room?" The meeting hall was designed to impress, with a long table made from rare lunar glass and Earth's best artwork on the walls. Sarah had spent weeks preparing, learning everything she could about Veltar culture and needs. "We understand you need rare metals from our asteroid belts," Sarah began, pulling up holographic displays of mining data. "In exchange, we're hoping to purchase medical technology to help with the plague affecting our outer colonies." Zethkri barely glanced at the displays. "Your offer is insufficient. We haven't discussed terms yet. There is nothing to discuss. You will provide all rare metals from 17 star systems. In return, we will give you basic medical supplies." Sarah blinked. "Sir, that would be nearly our entire mining operation. And basic supplies won't be enough to fight this plague. We need the advanced treatments." "You misunderstand your position, little mammal." Zethkri leaned forward. "You are not our equals. You are barely worthy of our attention. You will accept what we offer, or you will receive nothing. Ambassador, surely we can find a fair agreement that benefits both our peoples." "Fair?" The word seemed to amuse him. "Fairness is a luxury for civilized species. You have been in space for what? 50 years? We have ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. You exist because we allow it." Sarah felt her jaw clench. But she kept her voice steady. "We're willing to be generous, but we need something that actually helps our people." "Your people." Zethkri stood up, towering over the table. "Let me tell you about your people. Yesterday, one of your pathetic cargo ships entered Veltar space without permission. The Mercy's Hand? That was a medical transport heading to Colony 7. We filed the proper requests weeks ago. We denied those requests. The ship was destroyed as an example." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Destroyed? There were families on that ship. Medical personnel. Supplies for the dying. Inferior beings who failed to know their place. Sarah stood up slowly, her hands shaking. "We removed pests from our territory." Zethkri's eyes glowed brighter. "And now you will accept our terms, or more ships will be destroyed. Your colonies will burn. Your species will serve, or it will die." The conference room fell silent. Sarah could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Around the table, The human delegation sat frozen, in shock. "You want our answer now?" Sarah asked quietly. "I want your surrender. Complete and absolute. Your mining rights, your trade routes, your military codes, everything. In return, we will let most of your species live as servants." Sarah looked around the room one more time. She saw the fear in her team's eyes, but also something else. Anger. Pure, burning anger that matched her own. "I need time to consult with Earth Command. You have 6 hours, then we begin destroying your colonies one by one until you agree." Zethkri smiled, showing crystal teeth. "Starting with the children." After the Veltar left, Sarah's team sat in stunned silence. Lieutenant Park was the first to speak. "They actually did it. They killed the Mercy's hand. And they're threatening genocide if we don't become slaves," added Dr. Martinez, the team's medical advisor. Sarah walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was receiving her emergency transmission. Somewhere out there, people were making decisions that would change everything. "Captain?" Park's voice was soft. "What do we do?" Sarah turned back to her team. For just a moment, her careful diplomatic mask slipped, and something cold and dangerous showed in her eyes. "We give them exactly what they've earned." She activated her secure communicator. "Earth Command, this is Nexus Prime." Code Phoenix confirmed. "The ambassador has crossed the line." "I repeat, Code Phoenix is confirmed." On the other end of the transmission, Admiral Sterling's voice was calm as ice. "Understood, Captain. Maintain diplomatic protocols. Phoenix is authorized." As Sarah closed the connection, she allowed herself a small smile. The Veltar thought they knew humans. They thought humanity was weak, desperate, helpless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Admiral Marcus Sterling stood in the war room deep beneath Geneva, watching the holographic display that showed human space. Red dots marked the locations of their colonies. Blue showed Earth's fleet positions, and a new yellow dot blinked where the Mercy's hand had died. "Confirm the numbers," he said quietly. Colonel Amy Rodriguez pulled up the data. 206,412 confirmed dead, including the children's hospital ship that was traveling with the convoy. The room fell silent. Around the table sat humanity's highest military leaders, men and women who had seen war before. But this was different. This was murder on a scale that demanded an answer. "How long do we have?" Sterling asked. The Veltar gave Captain Chen 6 hours to surrender. That was 2 hours ago. Rodriguez replied. "Sir," said General Thompson, "maybe we should consider their terms. They have the largest fleet in the galaxy. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours." Sterling turned to face the room. "General, how long have you known me?" 20 years, sir." "In those 20 years, have you ever known me to surrender?" "No, sir." "But this is different. We're talking about the survival of our entire species." Sterling walked to another console and entered his authorization codes. The hologram changed, showing a new display. Suddenly, the room filled with gasps. "Gentlemen, ladies, meet the real human fleet." Where before the display had shown maybe 300 ships, now it showed over 1,000. Sleek black vessels that didn't appear on any official records. Ships built in secret asteroid bases, powered by technology the galaxy thought impossible. "For 15 years, Sterling said, we've played the part of weak newcomers. We've hidden our true capabilities, let them think we were harmless. We've built these ships in the dark between stars, trained crews in secret, developed weapons they've never seen." Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, head of Human Research Division, stepped forward. "The Prometheus project is ready. Admiral, all 1,000 ships are equipped with quantum tunnel drives and Harmony weapons." "Harmony weapons?" asked Thompson. "We studied the Veltar biology for years," Shaw explained. Their crystal bodies are strong, but they have a weakness. Specific sound frequencies can shatter their molecular structure. We've weaponized that knowledge. Sterling nodded. Every ship in the Ghost Fleet carries enough firepower to level a planet. But more importantly, they carry precision weapons designed specifically to kill Veltar. Sir, Rodriguez said carefully, are we talking about genocide? We're talking about justice. Sterling's voice was cold as space. They murdered our people. They threatened our children. They demanded we become their slaves. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you push humanity too far. The display changed again, showing defensive positions throughout human space. Phase 1 begins now. All civilian populations are being evacuated to the hidden bases. Every colony, every station, every ship that can't defend itself gets moved to safety. They'll notice the evacuations, Thompson pointed out. Let them. We want them to think we're running scared. While they celebrate their victory, we'll be positioning for the real war. Sterling pulled up communications with Captain Chen. Her face appeared on the screen, looking tired, but determined. Sarah, how are you holding up? The Veltar are getting more aggressive, sir. Zethkri keeps making demands, expecting us to break at any moment. Keep playing the part. Let him think he's winning. How's the intelligence gathering? Good. We've mapped their entire command structure on this station. I've also been monitoring their communications. They're not expecting any real resistance from us. Sterling smiled grimly. Perfect. Continue diplomatic protocols. Make them believe we're desperate. In 72 hours, they'll understand their mistake. Back on Nexus Prime, Sarah returned to the conference room where Zethkri waited. The alien ambassador sat like a crystal statue, radiating cold arrogance. Have your leaders seen reason? He asked. Earth is, considering your terms, Sarah said, letting her voice shake slightly. But the people are scared. They're asking for guarantees that you won't harm civilians. Zethkri's laugh filled the room. Civilians? You speak as if your species has value beyond labor. Very well. I will be generous. Those who serve faithfully will be allowed to live. Those who resist will join your precious mercy's hand. Sarah flinched as if the words hurt her. Inside, she felt something cold and deadly, growing stronger. And our colonies will produce what we require. Your miners will dig, your farmers will grow food, your engineers will maintain our machines. A simple existence for simple minds. What about our children? The useful ones will be trained to serve. The rest, Zethkri shrugged. Resources are limited. Zeth, Kree, Zeth, Zeth, Kree. Sarah closed her eyes, pretending to fight back tears. In reality, she was memorizing every word, every detail that would justify what was coming. I need more time. People are panicking. Some colonies are already trying to evacuate. Let them run. Space is vast, but not vast enough to hide from us. We will find them all eventually. Meanwhile, throughout human space, the great evacuation continued. Massive cargo ships that supposedly carried trade goods actually held families and children. Mining stations went dark as their populations moved to hidden bases in asteroid belts and rogue planets. To watching aliens, it looked like humanity was collapsing in fear. Ships fled in all directions, colonies went silent, and trade stopped completely. The Veltar congratulated themselves on breaking human spirit so easily. They had no idea they were watching the largest military repositioning in galactic history. In the asteroid belt beyond Pluto, Admiral Sterling's flagship, the Prometheus, waited in darkness. Around it, the Ghost Fleet prepared for war. These weren't the small patrol ships the galaxy knew about. These were true warships, built for one purpose: to remove the Veltar threat permanently. All civilian evacuation complete, sir, reported his communications officer. Fleet status? 1,000 ships ready and armed. All crews at battle stations. Sterling looked at the tactical display one more time. Every red dot, representing a Veltar military position, was marked for destruction. Every government center, every command ship, every weapon platform that had supported the massacre of the Mercy's Hand. Signal all ships. In 60 hours we execute total. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity doesn't surrender. We end threats. As the message went out across the hidden fleet, soldiers who had trained for this moment, their entire lives prepared for battle. Engineers checked weapons systems designed to tear crystal beings apart. Pilots ran final simulations on ships that could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. The Veltar thought they had won. They thought humanity was broken, defeated, ready to serve. They were about to discover that the most dangerous predator is the one that doesn't look dangerous at all. 6 months had passed since the Mercy's Hand massacre, and to the rest of the galaxy, humanity looked completely broken. Trade with human colonies had stopped almost completely. Their diplomatic missions spoke in quiet, defeated voices. Even their military seemed to have given up, with most ships pulled back to defend only Earth itself. Ambassador Zethkri stood in his private chambers aboard Nexus Prime, watching news reports from across the galaxy. The screen showed empty human colonies, abandoned mining stations, and cargo ships fleeing toward Earth. He smiled, his crystal features glowing with satisfaction. "Look how they scurry," he said to his aide, Veltar Commander Thekin. "Like insects when you lift a rock. Pathetic." "The other species have taken notice," Thekin reported. "The Korthak Rebellion has surrendered completely. The Zalon Republic has increased their tribute payments by 30%. Your handling of the humans has reminded the galaxy who rules." Quote, Adiao. Zethkri walked to his window, gazing out at the stars. Fear is the only language these younger races understand. Compassion is weakness. Mercy is failure. The humans learned this lesson well. What Zethkri didn't see were the ships moving in the darkness between stars. Deep in the void where no sensors could detect them, the Ghost Fleet had spread across the galaxy like a hidden web. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, designed for one purpose: war without warning. Captain Lisa Rodriguez piloted her stealth destroyer through an empty system 3 light-years from the Veltar border. Her ship, the Silent Thunder, was completely invisible to alien sensors. Around her, 20 more ships waited in the cold darkness. "Contact report," she whispered to her crew. "Veltar patrol, right on schedule," replied her tactical officer. 3 ships, standard configuration. They have no idea we're here. Good. Mark their positions and communication frequencies. Add it to the database. For months, human ships had been mapping every Veltar position in the galaxy. Every patrol route, every base, every communication relay. The aliens thought they were hunting, fleeing human refugees. In reality, they were being studied like insects under a microscope. Back on Nexus Prime, Captain Sarah Chen sat across from Zethkri in what had become a daily humiliation session. The alien ambassador enjoyed these meetings, using them to remind humanity of their new place in the galaxy. "Your species continues to disappoint," Zethkri said, reviewing reports on his crystal tablet. "Mining output from the Kepler colonies has dropped to almost nothing. The workers are afraid," Sarah replied, letting her voice sound tired and defeated. "After what happened to the Mercy's Hand, people don't trust that they'll be safe. Safety is earned through obedience. Perhaps another example is needed." Sarah forced herself to look worried. "Please. No. The colonies are trying to increase production. They just need time. Time is a luxury I no longer grant your species." Zethkri leaned forward. "However, I am feeling generous today. I will give the Kepler colonies 1 month to return to full production. If they fail, I will personally supervise their destruction. I'll send the message immediately. What Sarah actually sent was very different. Hidden in routine diplomatic communications, coded messages went out to human bases across the galaxy. Phase 2. Authorized. Target confirmed. Prepare for total. In the asteroid belt beyond Pluto, Admiral Sterling received the signal aboard his flagship. The bridge of the Prometheus was a cathedral of human achievement, filled with technology that would amaze and terrify the galaxy's elder races. All Ghost Fleet units report ready, announced his communications officer. Harmony weapons? Sterling asked. Fully charged and tested. We can shatter every Veltar ship in their fleet. Quantum tunnel drives? Ready to deploy the entire fleet anywhere in the galaxy within minutes. Sterling nodded. The Ghost Fleet was humanity's greatest secret. While the aliens thought human technology was primitive, human scientists had actually surpassed them in almost every area. Quantum tunnel drives that made alien FTL look like a child's toy. Adaptive armor that learned from every attack. Weapons designed specifically to exploit alien weaknesses. Status on civilian evacuations? Complete, sir. Every human civilian is now in the hidden bases. The colonies the aliens are monitoring are actually just automated systems and volunteer skeleton crews. This was the most audacious part of the plan. Humanity had evacuated not just their people, but entire populations. Millions of humans now lived in secret bases hidden in asteroid belts, rogue planets, and dead systems. To alien observers, it looked like panic and collapse. In reality, it was the largest strategic repositioning in galactic history. Dr. Shaw, report on alien intelligence. Dr. Shaw stepped forward with her datapad. We've confirmed the location of the Veltar homeworld, Keth Mirren. See. 17 billion aliens live there, plus their entire government and military command structure. Defenses? Strong, but designed to stop conventional attacks. Their shields won't stop Harmony weapons, and their sensors can't detect quantum tunnel approaches. Sterling studied the tactical display. Red dots showed Veltar military positions throughout the galaxy. Each one had been carefully mapped and studied. What about other alien species? Most are staying neutral. They're afraid of the Veltar but also afraid of getting involved. A few smaller species have actually been secretly hoping someone would stand up to Veltar dominance. Time until the Veltar expect their answer from the Kepler colonies? 28 days, sir. Sterling smiled grimly. Perfect. We'll give them an answer they'll never forget. Across the galaxy, human agents continued their careful work. Dr. Elena Vasquez worked in a secret laboratory on Europa, perfecting the Harmony weapons. Her breakthrough had been simple but devastating. Veltar crystal biology resonated at specific frequencies. The right sound could literally tear them apart from the inside. Final test successful, she reported to Admiral Sterling. The weapons are ready. One Harmony pulse can disable a Veltar cruiser. 3 pulses will destroy it completely. Meanwhile, the aliens continued to believe their own propaganda. Veltar ships patrolled human space, finding only empty colonies and fleeing cargo ships. Other alien species watched nervously, wondering if they would be next. On the Nexus Prime station, Zethkri prepared for what he thought would be humanity's final surrender. He had already planned a galaxy-wide broadcast to show other species what happened to those who defied Veltar authority. The human delegation has requested a formal meeting, Commander Thekin reported. Excellent. They're ready to accept complete surrender. Prepare the broadcast systems. I want every species in the galaxy to witness this. Sarah Chen received the message and smiled for the first time in months. Not the fake diplomatic smile she'd been wearing, but a real smile filled with dark promise. Signal Admiral Sterling, she told her secure communications officer. Tell him Zethkri wants to make this public. The whole galaxy will be watching. 2. Understood, Captain. Any other Messages? Sarah looked out the window at the Veltar ships surrounding the station. Soon, very soon, they would understand what humanity really was beneath their diplomatic masks. Yes. Tell the Admiral that humanity is ready to show the galaxy what total war actually looks like. In the darkness between stars, 1,000 human warships waited for the signal. They had been patient for months, letting the galaxy think they were weak and broken. But patience had its limits. The time for hiding was almost over. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen such a crowd. Representatives from over 40 species filled the massive hall, all eager to witness what Ambassador Zethkri had promised would be the final submission of the human pest. Even species that rarely left their homeworlds had sent delegations to watch humanity's defeat. Zethkri stood at the central podium, his crystal body glowing with triumph. Behind him, a massive display showed the pathetic state of human space. Empty colonies, fleeing ships, and defensive fleets pulled back to Earth like frightened children. Esteemed colleagues, his voice rang through the chamber like musical glass, today marks the end of human delusion. For months, this species has pretended they could negotiate with their superiors. Today, they will publicly surrender and accept their proper place as servants to their betters. The assembled aliens murmured approval. Many had grown tired of human pretensions to equality. It would be good to see the natural order restored. Furthermore, Zethkri continued, let this serve as a lesson to any other species that might harbor thoughts of rebellion. The Veltar hegemony has ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. We will rule it for 50,000 more. At the back of the chamber, Captain Sarah Chen sat with the small human delegation. She wore a simple black uniform instead of her usual diplomatic blues. To the watching aliens, it looked like mourning clothes. They weren't entirely wrong. Captain Chen, Zethkri called out, please approach the podium. It's time for your species to formally accept reality. Sarah stood slowly, her face showing the strain of months of apparent defeat. She walked to the podium while every camera in the galaxy focused on her. This moment would be broadcast to every world, every station, every ship in known space. Ambassador Zethkri, she said quietly, before we proceed, I want to confirm something. You speak for all Veltar forces, correct? I speak for the entire hegemony. My word is law for 17 star systems and 3 billion Veltar citizens. And you stand by everything you've said? The massacre of the Mercy's Hand? The demands for slavery? The threats against our children? Zethkri's eyes blazed brighter. Every word. Your species exists only because we permit it. Today, you will beg for that permission to continue. Sarah nodded slowly, then reached for her communications device. Then, I have a message for you from humanity. She activated the device, and her voice carried to every corner of the galaxy. Admiral Sterling. This is Captain Chen. The ambassador has confirmed his position. Execute total. For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then Zethkri began to laugh, a sound like wind chimes in a hurricane. You think your pathetic fleet can challenge us? Your Earth forces number perhaps 300 ships. We have 10,000. You're absolutely right, Sarah said calmly. Earth's official fleet is no match for yours. But you made one tiny mistake, Ambassador. You assumed that was all we had. The first sign of trouble came from the Veltar homeworld, Keth Miran. The planet's defense coordinator was reviewing routine sensor sweeps when every alarm in the command center began screaming at once. What's happening? Demanded General Korthak. Unknown contacts appearing throughout the system. They're not using normal FTL signatures. They just appeared. How many? 50, no. 100. Sir, I'm reading over 200 ships. The human ghost fleet materialized like deadly shadows throughout the Kethmiran system. Black ships that seemed to drink light. moving with precision that made Veltar technology look clumsy. They had appeared inside the defense perimeter, past every sensor array, past every early warning system. General Korthok stared at the display in growing horror. That's impossible. No species has that technology. Sir, they're transmitting a message. The main screen filled with the face of a human admiral. His expression was cold as the void between stars. I am Admiral Sterling of the Human Space Command. You have 60 seconds to surrender all military vessels and government facilities. Resist. A, and we will demonstrate why your species should have chosen peace. Korthok snarled. Arrogant mammals. All ships. Open fire. Destroy them. The Veltar fleet, nearly 500 strong, opened fire with weapons that could crack planets. Energy beams and plasma missiles filled space with deadly light. None of them reached their targets. The human ships moved like liquid mercury, their adaptive armor absorbing and redirecting attacks that should have vaporized them. But it was the harmony weapons that truly shocked the Veltar. Strange, pulsing sounds filled the communication channels, and suddenly, Veltar ships began tearing themselves apart. What's happening to our vessels? Korthok screamed. The harmonics are destabilizing our crystal matrices. The humans somehow weaponized sound itself. Across 12 star systems, the same scene played out. Human ships appeared without warning, striking with precision, born of months of intelligence gathering. They didn't attack civilian targets or merchant vessels. They struck only military assets and government centers, like surgeons removing cancer from a healthy body. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the mood had changed dramatically. Aliens who moments before had been celebrating humanity's defeat now watched in stunned silence as reports poured in from across Veltar space. Zethkri stood frozen at the podium, his crystal body flickering with shock. This is impossible. Your species doesn't have this technology. You're right again, Sarah said, stepping closer to the microphone. 15 years ago, we didn't. But while you were congratulating yourselves on your superiority, we were learning. While you assumed we were weak, we were building. While you planned our enslavement, we were preparing for this moment. She gestured to the displays around the chamber, now showing the systematic destruction of Veltar military power. You called us inferior. You murdered our civilians. You threatened our children. Today, you discover what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. The Veltar ships around Nexus Prime Station suddenly found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere. The station's own defense systems turned against the Veltar delegation as hidden human subroutines activated. You see, Ambassador, Sarah continued as emergency lights flashed around them. We've been planning this conversation for months. Every word you've spoken, every threat you've made, every contemptuous laugh has been recorded and broadcast to the galaxy. Everyone knows exactly what kind of beings the Veltar truly are. Zethkri looked around desperately as his guards found themselves facing human soldiers who had somehow appeared on a station he thought he controlled. You cannot do this. We are the rightful rulers of this galaxy. Were, Sarah corrected. Past tense. As of today, the Veltar hegemony is dissolved. Your military is destroyed. Your government centers are in ruins. Your empire is finished. But the other species will never accept human dominance. Sarah smiled, and for the first time, Zethkri saw something in her eyes that made his crystal blood run cold. Who said anything about dominance? We're not conquerors, Ambassador. We're gardeners, and sometimes gardeners have to remove the weeds. The final report came from Admiral Sterling himself, transmitted to every screen in the galaxy. His face was calm, professional, terrifying in its absolute certainty. The Veltar military has been neutralized. Their government facilities are destroyed. Veltar civilian populations are unharmed and under temporary human protection until they can establish new leadership. He paused, letting that sink in across the galaxy. Let me be very clear to all species watching this. Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek only to ensure that no species can ever again treat another as disposable. The age of the Veltar is over. The age of justice has begun. In the council chamber, Zethkri fell to his knees as reports confirmed the destruction of everything he had believed was eternal. 50,000 years of Veltar dominance ended in a single day. Sarah looked down at him without pity. You asked for humanity's surrender, Ambassador. Instead, you got humanity's truth. We are not your pets. We are not your servants. We are the species that ends threats to innocent life. She turned to address the galaxy directly. The Veltar chose this path when they murdered our people. Remember that. When you consider how to treat your neighbors, kindness will be met with kindness. But cruelty, she gestured to the broken ambassador at her feet, cruelty will be met with total war. 3 days after the Veltar War ended, the galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened. In those 72 hours, humanity had revealed technology that made elder race achievements look primitive, destroyed the most powerful military in known space, and dismantled an empire that had ruled for 50,000 years. Admiral Marcus Sterling stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Prometheus, as it orbited the former Veltar homeworld of Kethmiran. Through the massive viewports, he could see the crystal cities below, their inhabitants struggling to understand their new reality. Status report, he requested. All Veltar military assets destroyed or surrendered, reported his tactical officer. Civilian infrastructure untouched. No civilian casualties in any system. Refugee situations? Minor displacement on 17 worlds, where government centers were destroyed. Human medical and supply ships are providing assistance. Most Veltar civilians are actually grateful. Sterling wasn't surprised. For millennia, the Veltar had been ruled by an aristocratic class that treated their own people almost as poorly as they treated other species. The crystal cities below weren't celebrating, but they weren't mourning either. Sir, his communications officer interrupted. Incoming message from the Galactic Council. They're requesting. Actually, they're demanding an immediate audience. Sterling smiled grimly. Put them through. The holographic display filled with angry alien faces. The Council of 12, representing the galaxy's elder races, looked exactly as Sterling had expected. Shocked, terrified, and furious. Chancellor Vexhai of the Andromedan Collective spoke first. Admiral Sterling, the Council demands an explanation for this unprovoked aggression. Unprovoked? Sterling's voice was calm as ice. Counselor, I suggest you review the recordings of Ambassador Zethkri's statements. The massacre of civilian medical ships, threats of genocide, demands for slavery. Which part of that seems unprovoked to you? The Veltar were excessive in their methods, admitted Counselor Thane of the Silicon Brotherhood, but that doesn't justify the complete destruction of their civilization. We didn't destroy their civilization, Sterling replied. We removed their military and government. Their people are free to rebuild as they choose. That's more mercy than they showed the crew of the Mercy's hand. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. But Sterling raised his hand for silence. When he spoke again, his words carried the weight of absolute certainty. For 15 years, humanity played by your rules. We accepted insults, unfair trade deals, and condescending treatment because we hoped for peace. We believed that reason and diplomacy could solve any problem. The display shifted to show images from across human space. The returning colonists, the massive industrial platforms, the 1,000-ship ghost fleet that had appeared from nowhere. What you didn't understand is that we were also preparing for the possibility that you were wrong. While you saw weakness, we were building strength. While you assumed ignorance, we were studying your every weakness. While you planned our subjugation, we were planning your education. Chancellor Vexhi's tentacles writhed with agitation. You speak of education, but you've demonstrated nothing but barbarism. Your own species will suffer for this aggression. Really? Sterling gestured to his tactical officer, who brought up a new display. Let me show you the current state of human space. The hologram revealed the truth that had stunned every intelligence service in the galaxy. Human colonies that had seemed empty were revealed to be fully operational, hidden beneath advanced camouflage systems. Mining operations thought destroyed were actually producing at triple their previous capacity. The fleeing refugee ships had been massive industrial vessels building new installations in secret. Counselor Thane, your species has been trying to develop quantum tunnel technology for 3,000 years. We mastered it in 5. Counselor Vexhi, your people pride themselves on energy manipulation. Our harmony weapons can destroy matter at the molecular level. Sterling paused, letting the implications sink in. We don't need your approval, your trade, or your protection. We never did. What we wanted was peace and cooperation. What we got was contempt and threats. What you'll receive in return is justice. On Nexus Prime, Captain Sarah Chen walked through the corridors that had once echoed with Veltar arrogance. The station now served as headquarters for the new Galactic Accords, humanity's framework for interstellar relations. In Conference Room 7, she met with Sith Ara, one of the few Veltar nobles who had survived the collapse of their government. The young crystalline being sat across from Sarah, her blue light dim with grief and confusion. I still don't understand, Sith Ara said quietly. Your species seemed so primitive. How did you become so powerful without anyone noticing? Sarah poured tea for both of them. A human custom she'd maintained even in the darkest days. We learned from watching you. Actually, the Veltar taught us that the galaxy respects only strength. So we became strong. But the deception, the secret weapons, the hidden fleets, doesn't that make you like us? No, Sarah said firmly. We built weapons to defend ourselves, not to conquer others. We hid our strength to avoid conflict, not to plan surprise attacks. We gave your people chances to choose peace, right up until the moment they chose genocide. Sith Ara's light flickered. Zethkri was a fool. Many of us knew it. But our society, we couldn't speak against our superiors. And now? Now we must learn to speak for ourselves. Sith Ara looked up at Sarah with something like hope in her crystalline eyes. We want to prove that our species can be better than what we were. Sarah nodded approvingly. That's all humanity has ever wanted. Species, working together instead of one ruling the others. Across the galaxy, the new reality was taking shape. The Korthak Rebellion, freed from Veltar oppression, had established peaceful relations with their former enemies. The Zelen Republic had reduced their military spending and increased investment in art and science. Dozens of smaller species that had lived in fear for centuries were exploring space and making contact with other civilizations. But not everyone was happy with the changes. In the Andromedan Collective's capital, Chancellor Vexhi met with his war council. The humans must be stopped, he declared. They've upset the natural order. If we don't act, they'll dominate the entire galaxy. The reading the found, and the favor in the found, they've upset the natural order. Sir, his military advisor said carefully, our intelligence reports suggest that would be unwise. Human technology appears to be decades ahead of ours. Perhaps accommodation would be better than confrontation. Accommodation? Vexhi's tentacles turned dark purple with rage. We are one of the founding species of galactic civilization. We will not bow to mammals that discovered fire yesterday. 2 weeks later, an Andromedan battle fleet crossed into human space, demanding the surrender of the Proxima mining stations. They were met by a single human destroyer. Captain Jennifer Walsh opened communications with the Andromedan flagship. "This is the UES Defiance. You are in violation of the Galactic Accords. Please withdraw immediately." Admiral Zorthan laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "One ship against 50? Human arrogance knows no bounds. Sir, I'm authorized to offer you the same choice we gave the Veltar. Withdraw now, or face the consequences of your aggression. Fire all weapons," Zorthan commanded. The Andromedan fleet opened fire with enough energy to vaporize a small moon. When the light faded, the human destroyer was unharmed, its adaptive armor glowing softly as it absorbed and processed the attack. "Your turn," Captain Walsh said pleasantly. The Harmony weapon pulse that followed reduced the 50-ship Andromedan fleet to scattered debris in less than 30 seconds. 6 months later, Admiral Sterling stood once again in the war room beneath Geneva. But this time, the holographic display showed a galaxy at peace. Trade flowed freely between species. Conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than force. And humanity's protection ships patrolled the space lanes to ensure safe passage for all. "Final report, Admiral," his aide announced. "Go ahead. The last of the resistance movements has surrendered. The Andromedan Collective has signed the accords. No hostile actions against human or allied shipping reported in 30 days. The galaxy is officially at peace." Sterling nodded, but his expression remained serious. "Remember, Colonel, peace isn't something you achieve once and forget about. It's something you maintain every day through strength and vigilance." He looked out the window at the stars above Geneva. Somewhere out there, the Ghost Fleet continued its patrols, ready to respond to any threat against innocent life. Somewhere out there, human diplomats worked to build bridges between species that had been enemies for centuries. "The Veltar ruled through fear," Sterling said quietly. "They forgot that fear breeds hatred, and hatred eventually breeds revolution. We will rule through protection. We'll be the shield that guards the peace, the sword that cuts down those who would harm the innocent. And if our own people forget that mission, sir," Sterling smiled for the first time in months, "then hopefully, some younger species will be strong enough to remind us of our place. That's how civilization advances, Colonel. Each generation teaches the next that power without responsibility is tyranny." On Nexus Prime, Sarah Chen stood in her new office as Administrator of Galactic Relations. Through her window, she could see ships from dozens of species docking peacefully, their crews working together on scientific projects and trade agreements. Her communication system chimed with an incoming message. She smiled when she saw it was from a young human officer stationed on the edge of known space. "Admiral Chen," the message began, and Sarah paused, still getting used to her new rank. "We've made contact with a previously unknown species called the Etherians. They seem peaceful and curious about joining the galactic community, requesting guidance on first contact protocols." Sarah recorded her reply. "Follow standard procedures, Lieutenant. Offer them friendship, but be prepared to defend them if necessary. And remember, we're not just representing humanity out there. We're representing hope itself." As she closed the connection, Sarah reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear and oppression now looked to humanity not as conquerors, but as guardians of peace. The alien ambassador had indeed crossed the line. But in doing so, he had awakened something the galaxy desperately needed. A species willing to fight not for dominance, but for justice. And that had made all the difference.